All right, so for this deep dive, we're jumping into a really interesting piece of source material. It's a short narrative called The Last Loop.
Yeah, and it uses time travel, but maybe not like you'd expect. It gets into some heavy stuff, consequences, chasing perfection, you
What
know.
happens when, well, when everything you do to fix something just makes it worse? It really digs into that.
Exactly. So our mission today is to unpack this story. We'll pull out the core ideas, the twists, and what it suggests about trying to control these huge, complex systems.
Yeah, systems that might be, frankly, beyond our control. And it poses this big question right at the start. What if your efforts are actually counterproductive? Let's get into it. Okay, so the story kicks off introducing Kalen Hart. He's our main guy, a looper. He can jump back in time.
And he's been doing it a lot. The text says 74 times,
I mean,
74 resets or loops.
74, I mean, just imagine. That's essentially 74 lifetimes spent trying to fix the same period of time, trying to shave away the failures, as the story puts it.
Right, the collapses, the apocalypses. And he's tried everything, being the hero, being a saboteur, working from the shadows. Each loop, the source says, made him sharper, but also colder. More detached, maybe.
That dedication
Mm-hmm.
or obsession,
Mm-hmm.
it's immense. But this time, Loop 75, things are different. His gear, the time slip engine, it's breaking down.
Yeah, it's a one jump left. That's it. His final loop puts a bit of pressure on, doesn't it?
Just a bit. And with only one shot left, his huge, sprawling mission across all those loops, it gets narrowed down, way down.
To just one thing, one person, save Lira. That's the goal for this last attempt.
Yeah.
He arrives back at 0 day, the crucial moment outside Valis City.
He's ready. Last chance. And then something happens that, according to the story's own logic, just shouldn't be possible.
Right, he gets to his tether point, his arrival spot, and someone's already there.
And it's him. Another version of him.
Exactly, another Kalen Hart. The story calls him version 41, same kind of tech, same scars, but different vibe. Tired, worn down.
And this just throws a wrench in everything, doesn't it? Because the rules, the temporal mechanics in this world say tether points are exclusive. You shouldn't be able to overlap like that.
Precisely. Yet there they are. Kalen 75, our guy, meets Kalen 41. 41 even acknowledges his number 75. It's eerie.
And 41 apparently has been, like, waiting there for a few loops.
Yeah, camping, the text says. It immediately signals that 41 knows something 75 doesn't, something beyond just the mechanics of looping.
So this meeting, it's not just a cool sci-fi moment. It sets up the real conflict, which goes beyond just the Lira. It's about why they're looping.
Totally. It's a clash of philosophies, born from shared experience. Both tried dozens of times for Lira, saved her sometimes, lost her others, saw the city fall anyway. They've both seen the failure over and over.
But 75, our Kalen, he's still hopeful or just stubborn. He insists he can fix it this time. He's got the plan refined down to the smallest detail.
Oh yeah, intercept the drone strike in the plaza, reroute the supply chain through Tier 3, neutralize the Faust cell leader. He has it all mapped out. He believes this version, refined over 74 failures, has to be the one.
And 41, what's his take?
He's resigned. He says he learned that maybe they aren't meant to fix it, that the timeline itself kind of pushes back.
Pushes back.
He calls it the loop's gravity. It's this idea that the harder you try to force a change, the more powerfully the timeline corrects itself, maybe in unexpected ways. It snaps back.
Wow. Loop's gravity, that's a heavy concept.
It is. And 41 suggests something even tougher. That 75 isn't looping to win anymore. He's looping because he literally can't stop.
Oof. So it's not perseverance, it's compulsion. Addiction, almost.
That's the implication. It reframes everything Kalen's done. Is he a determined hero or just trapped in his own cycle?
So 75 hears all this from his, well, older, more cynical self. But he doesn't listen.
Nope. The weight of 74 attempts, the conviction that this plan is the one, it's too much. He has to see it through. He goes ahead.
Executes the plan. Precision honed over lifetimes, right?
Exactly. Interception, done. Supply reroute, confirmed. Cell neutralization, perfect execution, and for a moment, success.
It works. Lira lives.
It seems like it. The city's immediate destruction is averted. Lira steps into the sunlight unharmed. Kalen feels this surge like, finally.
There's always a but in these stories, isn't there?
Yeah.
The source says it felt too clean.
Yeah, that's the foreshadowing. And sure enough, within hours, it all starts to unravel. Just not the way it did before.
What goes wrong this time?
Well, taking out that Faust leader, it created a vacuum. A splinter faction, maybe more radical, steps in and unleashes a biogenic weapon. something 75 hadn't accounted for.
No, so
Huh.
instead of explosions.
You get disease, thousands die, the supply lines he rerouted, they collapse anyway because of famine and sickness, not war. The northern provinces break away. Valor City isn't destroyed instantly, but it becomes ground zero for a new kind of collapse. Slower, quieter, maybe even worse in the long run.
So his perfect fix just created a different flavor of disaster.
Precisely. And as 75 watches these reports come in, watches his victory crumble into this new horror, the real truth hit them. That every loop, something breaks. It might be different each time, but the system finds a way to collapse. His actions aren't fixing the core problem, they're just changing the symptoms.
And the core problem wasn't what he thought.
Not at all. He gets this crushing insight. Lira's death. It wasn't the disaster he needed to prevent, it was the failsafe.
The failsafe, what does that mean?
It means her death, as tragic as it was the event that somehow stabilized the rest of the timeline. It allowed the wider world to survive, even if Valor City suffered initially. Her dying was, in the brutal calculus of this timeline, necessary for overall stability.
Wow, that's heavy. That a personal tragedy is the anchor point for the whole system.
Incredibly heavy. And right then, 41 shows up again. Confirms it.
And 75 must be like, why didn't you stop me?
He asks exactly that, and 41's answer is just bleakly honest. You wouldn't have listened. I wouldn't have listened. He gets it. He knows you have to see the failure yourself to believe it.
So 41's analysis is that the loops, they aren't really chances to win.
No, they're traps. They keep you repeating the cycle, keep you fighting until you finally break and see the truth. You can't save her. You were never supposed to. The loops teach acceptance through exhaustion, essentially.
It changes the whole point of the time travel, doesn't it?
Yeah.
From fixing to learning to let go.
Exactly. But then 41 drops another bombshell.
Oh, what now?
He hasn't actually stopped looping himself. He admits he still has 2 resets left.
Wait, so he knew the truth, but he kept his own escape hatches? Why?
He says he was waiting, watching 75 try this loop, to see if maybe this time, confronted with another version of himself, one of them could finally choose differently, choose to stop.
Choose to stop fighting the timeline.
Yeah, he basically lays it out. Accept the loss, accept Lira's death as the necessary event, let the loop sequence finally end, let the timeline settle into its stable, albeit painful form.
A huge ask after 75 lifetimes dedicated to not accepting it.
Immense. You feel 75 struggle. How do you just let her die after all that? 41 even admits he didn't know how, implying it's the hardest step for any looper who gets this far.
So what happens next? They're at the tether point.
Right, where 75 arrived, and the sky above them is described as glitching, fracturing. It's like the reality is unstable because they keep resisting its natural course.
And 75. He has that one last jump available. The engine's beeping, reminding him.
It's the ultimate choice point. Use the jump, start loop 76, maybe find another angle, spend another lifetime fighting, or don't. Accept this reality. This is his fixed point.
And what does he do?
The source says he closes his fist around the stabilizer, the trigger for the jump. He could do it. He has the power. He doesn't activate it. For the first time in 75 loops, he stops. He chooses not to fight anymore.
Wow. He lets it go.
He lets it go. And the effect is immediate. The sky stops glitching. It stabilizes. The timeline is settling into its final form because the resistance has stopped.
And 41.
He just fades away, gone.
Ugh.
His purpose was to get 75 to this point, maybe. 75 is left as the last version, the one who accepted.
So the outcome.
Yep.
It's not exactly a happy ending, is it? Lira's still gone.
No, not happy in the usual sense. He lives in the timeline where she dies. He carries the knowledge of all those failed attempts, the knowledge that trying to save her only caused more suffering. That's got to be a heavy burden. But he also knows this is the timeline that endures, the one where the wider world is preserved. And the source suggests that maybe, just maybe, in accepting this final loop, this only life he now has, there's a kind of peace, a difficult peace, born from aligning with reality.
It's brutal, but there's a kind of resolution there.
Yeah, and the story ends with these stark system logs, like a computer record. Loop sequence, terminated. Stability, restored. Divergence versions, resolved. Final anchor, accepted.
Accepted. Wow. And then there's that final note, right? From KH, from Kalen.
Yes, just appended. Sometimes the hardest reset is the one you don't take.
Man, that hits hard.
It really does, and it sums up what this deep dive into the last loop shows us, right?
Yeah.
Even though it's sci-fi, the themes are so grounded.
Absolutely. The limits of trying to control really complex systems, whether it's a timeline or, something in our own world.
And that really challenging idea that preventing a specific loss, even one that feels all important, could trigger worse outcomes down the line. The concept of a tragic event being a necessary failsafe, that's tough to grapple with.
Yeah, it forces you to question that impulse to fix everything, to make everything perfect.
Hmm.
Sometimes maybe the system needs that imperfection to remain stable overall.
It's also about the sheer difficulty of acceptance, isn't it? Accepting what you truly can't change, no matter how hard you fight. And that maybe peace isn't found in winning the fight, but in choosing to stop fighting altogether.
So yeah, time travel is the hook, but it's really exploring loss, consequences, acceptance, universal stuff.
Definitely. It pushes back against our desire for perfect control, for outcomes without cost.
And it leaves you listening, with that final thought from Kalen Hart. Sometimes the hardest reset is the one you don't take.
Makes you think, right? Where in your own life or in the bigger picture are you maybe fighting a loop, trying again and again to force a specific outcome against massive resistance?
Could the most difficult, maybe the most necessary choice be to stop? To accept the current state, even if it's painful, and choose not to reset again? Something profound to consider.